Hare Krishna, His Grace Srivas Vanacari, please accept my respectful obeisances. All glories to His confounder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Bhakti Swami Maharaj. All glories to His assembled devotees. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for making yourself available.
All glory to God, glory to Prabhupada.
Yeah, thank you very much for making yourself available and always being ready to assist and teach. We're very grateful.
Yeah.
So we're live now, so we can start today's section. I guess we may just have to continue with the section because the other people that were supposed to have presentations are not regular people, and I'm not sure whether they would even join today. So I'm thinking that we may just go ahead.
Yeah, I think what I'll do is that I will, there are some verses we jump over while
doing the presentation.
Doing the exercise, so I'll just touch those verses and then we go to the next chapter.
Okay.
Yeah. How much?
You just have to bring some and buy all the. I'm buying the 2 5K. I don't know what he has to do for you in your bathroom.
So you should get an estimate. So let's you can make me a co-host.
Yes, I've already I've done that.
Okay. A moment. Omagyanatamiridasya Gyanan Gyanashalakaya Chakshuramalitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhistam Snapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yukta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunastambitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Iti Namini Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Ashri Tatmane Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Iti Namini Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami iti namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini. Nirvesesa Shunyavadi Pasachahadi Satarini. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha. Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum lagayate grim yat kare patamaha vande Shri Guru Dina Taranam Paramanam Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Akanda Mandalakram Vyaptayina Characharam Tatpadam Dashitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Narayana Namaskritya Narachaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Janamodirayat Nashtapraya Swabhadresu Nitya Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are trying to wrap up this chapter, chapter 21 of the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Conversation Between Manu and Kandarma Muni. So we'd like to welcome everyone to this session. Last week we did the exercise of presentation of the different moods and mission and different academic goals, personal application, preaching application, mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada. And so we hope the students have gained some insight into understanding what is preaching application, what is personal application, what is, in fact, we didn't do academic integrity. So, but sometimes we also look at that academic integrity. And then what is mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada? So in the course of doing that, we jump over some verses. And so we'll quickly rush over those verses so that we can move to the next chapter. So from verse 33, we have the sloka saying, Maitreya Ovacha, Ivam Tam Anu Basyata, Bhagavan Prityak Aksajaha, Jagama Bindu Sharasa, Saraswatya Parishritat. Maitreya went on, thus having spoken to Kandarma Muni, the Lord, who reveals himself only when the senses are in Krishna consciousness, departed from that lake called Bindu Sarovar, which was encircled by the river Saraswati. And then the slide says, acquiring the necessary qualification for seeing the Lord. When one is trained in devotional service and renders service unto him, gradually one's senses are purified of material contamination. When one's senses are thus purified, then one can see, one can understand, one can hear, and so on. The purification of the material senses and the perception of the transcendental form, name, and quality of Krishna are combined together in one word, Pratyak Aksaja, which is used here. So to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, some prerequisites, some requirement is needed, because the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the nectar of devotion, clearly tells us Ata Sri Krishna Namandi Nam Bhavat Grayam Indriyai Sevam Mukhe Jivado Swayam Eva Suparati Adha. That the material senses are so blunt that they are not able to perceive the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is in a transcendental position. Harihi Nirguna Shakshat. The Lord is Nirguna. Nirguna means without material qualities. Saguna. Saguna means full of material qualities. And Nirguna means without material qualities. So Lord Hari is without material qualities. Therefore, to perceive the Lord, to see the Lord, one must first of all purify the senses.
Wow.
So the process of Krishna consciousness is the process of purification. So every activity in Krishna consciousness is actually meant for our purification. And that is why it is important to stay away from sinful activities, because we cannot be purified and we continue to perform sinful acts. So first of all, we take a vow not to engage in sinful activities again, and then we start the process of purification by daily chanting the names of Krishna. So that is described as Indrai Savam Mukhe Jivado, by engaging the senses, by engaging the tongue. Hirsikesa Hirsikenam Sevanam Bhakti Uchate. The senses belongs to Hirshikesh. Hirshikesh means the master of the senses. So our senses, they actually belong to Krishna. They belong to Hirshikesh. And so when the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord, they become purified. And then when they become purified, then we can actually perceive the presence of the Lord through sight, through taste, through hearing. The Lord is always present, just like the sun is always present. But it depends on our location. When the sun sets in Ghana or in Africa, it doesn't mean the sun has set for the whole world. The sun has only set for a particular area on the globe. When the sun is still there in the sky, but we cannot see because the section of the globe has turned away from the sun. So in the same way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always present. Krishna is always present. He is even present in our hearts, but we cannot see him because our senses are contaminated. Our senses are impure. There are clouds on our senses. Clouds of Maya have covered our senses. Just like the clouds in the sky, sometimes they cover the sun. So this process of engaging the senses in the service of the Lord is important. And that is the process of Krishna consciousness. Text 34 says, Nirikshatas tasya yavo asesa Shideshwara Bishtuta Shidha Margaha Karnyayam Patra Radendra Pakshai Ucharitam Stomam in Ujirna Samaha. While the sage stood looking on, the Lord left by the pathway leading to Vaikuntha, a path extolled by all great liberated souls. The sage stood listening as the hymns forming the basis of the Samaveda were vibrated by the flapping wings of the Lord's carrier, Garuda. And the slide says, Garuda's two wings are the two divisions of the Samaveda. In the Vedic literature, it is stated that the two wings of the transcendental bird, Garuda, who carries the Lord everywhere, are two divisions of the Samaveda, known as Brihat and Ratantra. Garuda works as the carrier of the Lord. Therefore, he is considered the transcendental prince of all carriers. With his two wings, Garuda began to vibrate the Samaveda, which is chanted by great sages to pacify the Lord. So, every personality has a carrier. Ganesh, his carrier is the mouse. Durga, her carrier is the tiger. Lord Shiva, his carrier is Nandi, the bull. Brahma, his carrier is the swan, Vahan. For Lord Vishnu, his carrier is Garuda. So here, Lord Vishnu had come to visit Kandarma Muni in his ashram. He just appeared from the sky on the wings of Garuda. And after giving darshan to Kandarma Muni, the Lord departs back to his abode. And a special feature of Garuda is that just by flapping his wings, he is chanting the Brihat Sama and the Ratantra Sama, which is the two parts of the Samaveda. So we can see how important and how special Garuda is. He's not an ordinary bird. Just by flapping the wings, one can hear the vibrations of the Brihat Sama and the Ratantra Sama. And that serves as entertainment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is constantly hearing the Samaveda from the flapping of the wings of Garuda. Actually, in the Garuda Purana, there is a very beautiful story about the appearance of Lord Garuda. But we don't have enough time to give the story. But Garuda earned a position as the carrier of Lord Vishnu because of his great determination. Garuda is the son of Kasyapa and Vinata. We know Kasyapa had 17 wives, all daughters of Daksha. Daksha gifted 17 daughters to Kasyapa. And these daughters, they became the mothers of the various species of life. So Garuda's mother is Vinata, and she is the mother of the birds. Of course, there are different birds, so there are different mothers as well. Vultures have their own mother. Eagles have their own mother. So Garuda is the son of Vinata and Kasyapa. And the mothers of snakes is Kadru. That's one of the wives of Kasyapa. Kadru, she's the mother of snakes. So it is said that one day, Kadru and Vinata, they approached their husband for progeny, for children. So Kadru was the first to request the husband that, my dear husband, I want 1,000 children to be born at once. And Kasyapa said, Tatastu, let it be so. Then after that, Vinata also approached the husband and said, my dear husband, I want only 2 children, but they should be as powerful as these 1,000 children of Kadru. And Kasyapa said, Tatastu, let it be so. So, in due course of time, Kadru laid 1,000 eggs. You know, snakes are hatched from eggs. And then Vinata also laid 2 eggs. Birds are born from eggs. So, in a very short time, Kadru's eggs hatched. The snakes, they hatched. And so Kadru had 1,000 children. But Vinata's eggs were not hatching. She had no child. She has to wait for the eggs to hatch. And so, you know, polygamous families, there's always some envy. It's part of the family, because one cannot treat the wives equally. Even if you give them equal material facilities, but the love will not be equal. And maybe the number of children will not be equal. Number of women, number of boys will not be equal. So this always creates some envy. So when Kadru's children hatched, and she had 1,000 children she was playing with, Vinata had no children. And so she started feeling unhappy. And then what is worse is that Kadru enslaves Vinata. He says, since you don't have children, you have to serve as our maidservant. You have to serve us. So you have to carry me and my 1,000 children wherever we want to go. So Kadru enslaved Vinata. So anyway, along the line, it is said that Vinata was impatient. So she forced one of the eggs open. And that egg contains Aruna. Aruna is the driver of the sun god. So when she forced open that egg, the child inside the egg was not fully developed. And because he forced it open, actually it is said that it was that child that cursed the mother. That because you have forced me to come when it's not yet time, you will become a slave to your co-wife, Kandru. And only when my other brother is born, he will liberate you from that situation. So that was it. Then Aruna rose into the sky and went up, 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 and went to the sun planet and was engaged by Vivashwan as his charioteer, as his driver. So Aruna is the senior brother of Garuda. So Vinata had to be carrying this Kanduru and her 1,000 children wherever they want to go. They want to go for a picnic. They want to go to the market. They want to go anywhere. He has to carry them. But he has to also exercise patience because he has to wait until the other egg will hatch. So it took so many years before Garuda was born. So when Garuda was born, he saw that the mother was a slave to Kanduru. So he asked the mother, why are you become a slave to this, your co-wife? And then she narrated the whole story. So Garuda approached Kanduru and said, what price do I have to pay in order to free my mother from this slavery? And Kanduru said, there is a pot of nectar in Indraloka. You know, when the demigods and the demons, they churned the ocean of milk and they got the nectar, and Mohini took it for the demigods. Some remained, and Indra took it to his planet, and he was guiding it. It's in a pot in a kumbha, so he's guarding it because they use it to revive their soldiers when they die in battle. So Kanduru said, I want that nectar. If you can go to Indra's planet and bring me that nectar, I will free your mother from slavery. So that's the price you have to pay to free your mother from slavery. So Garuda became very determined that I must go to Indraloka, I must bring this nectar, I must free my mother from slavery. So he went to his father. The father was meditating in the forest, Katsapamuni, and took permission from his father that he wants to go to Indraloka and bring down the pot of nectar so that he can free his mother from the slavery. So the father blessed him and told him he would meet a lot of challenges on the way. He will meet all kinds of sages, some little sages. He will meet some kind of elephants. You meet some kind of birds that eat elephants. You meet all kinds of things in the universe. When he's traveling to Indraloka, he will come across a lot of challenges, but he has to be very, very determined. So to cut a long story short, Garuda was able to pass through all those difficulties and he went to Indraloka. Indra had very powerful generals guiding the pot of nectar, including Vishwakarma. And so Garuda had to fight. He had to fight with these generals. And he defeated them. He defeated all the powerful generals that were placed in different directions to protect the nectar, pot of nectar. So when Indra saw that his big generals were being defeated by Garuda, he appeared on the scene, ready for a battle. But Garuda did not even care about him. Garuda defeated him also. So when Indra was defeated, then Indra had to enter into an agreement with Garuda. He said, my dear Garuda, this pot of nectar was given to the demigods. It is never supposed to leave the demigod planets. But now you have defeated us and you want to take it away. It's an abomination. You can't take it away. So something has to happen. And Garuda said, all right, let me tell you, this is the price I have to pay to liberate my mother from slavery. So I've defeated all of you, so the pot is mine now. But if you say you don't want it to leave the heavenly planet, just follow me. I will go and give it to Kandru as the price for my mother's freedom. And as soon as you release my mother for me, then you can take your pot. So they entered into a deal. And so Indra followed Garuda from behind. And so Garuda went and presented a pot of nectar to Kandru. And then his mother was freed from slavery from that very moment. But as soon as Kandru took the pot of nectar and placed it on the ground, within 1 second, Indra had picked up the pot of nectar and flew and went away with it back to the kingdom, to his kingdom. But the interesting part of it is that because Garuda was so determined to get this nectar from the heavenly planet, from Indra Loka, and the way he fought when the 4 generals guiding the 4 directions on Indra's planet, and even Indra himself, when his 4 generals were defeated, he himself came and he was also defeated. While all this was going on, Lord Vishnu was observing the scene. He was admiring Garuda. And so when Garuda freed the mother from slavery, Lord Vishnu invited him and said, I have appreciated your determination to free your mother from slavery. And because of that, you were able to defeat the 4 powerful generals of Indra Loka, and even Indra himself, he was defeated. So it means you have such determination, and you can render this service of becoming my carrier. So that's how Garuda became the carrier of Vishnu. It's a beautiful story, very long story. There are a lot of details, but we just give it a gist of it. So I said the speciality of Garuda's wing is simply by flapping Samaveda is sung for the pleasure of the Lord. Kadharma Muni was a liberated soul, therefore he could see the Lord face to face and could see Garuda carrying the Lord to Vaikuntha, and he could hear the vibrations of the Samaveda from Garuda's wings. So that was Kadharma Muni's fortune. He witnessed all these things. If there are any questions, they are welcome. Otherwise, we move on to text. 35 has no purport, but it says, Ata samprastite sukle karadamo bhagavan rishihi aste sma bindu sarasi talkalam prati palayam. Then after the departure of the Lord, the worshipful sage Kadharma stayed on the bank of Bindu Sarovar, awaiting the time of which the Lord had spoken. So there's no purport. We go to the next verse, which is 36, which says, 36, which says, Manu Syadanam Astaya Satakomba Parichandam Aropya Swam Duhitaram Sabharya Pariyatam Mahim. Swayambhuva Manu, with his wife, mounted his chariot, which was decorated with golden ornaments. Placing his daughter on it with them, he began traveling all over the earth. The slide says Swayambhuva Manu searches for his, he should be searching for his daughter, not searching for his daughter, he should be searching for a husband, a suitable husband for his daughter. Searching a husband for his daughter, that's what it should be. The Emperor Manu, as the great ruler of the world, could have engaged an agent to find a suitable husband for his daughter. But because he loved her just as a father should, he himself left his state on a golden chariot with only his wife to find her a suitable husband. So this is very important here. In the Vedic times, it is a responsibility of the parents to find a spouse for their daughter or for their son. In Vedic times, it was never the responsibility of a boy to go looking for a wife. It was never the responsibility of a girl to go looking for a husband. No. It is the duty of the parents to make the arrangement. And this is still there in most of Hindu communities in India. Traditional Hindus, a boy doesn't go looking for a wife, neither does a girl go looking for a husband. It is the responsibility of the parents to search out a suitable, compatible, agreeable spouse with the help of the astrologers so that the marriage will last a lifetime. And that is why we see that in the whole world, the divorce rate in India is the least. About 95% of marriages last. In America, it's just the opposite. 95% of marriages go through divorce because the boys go looking for their partners and the girls go looking for their partners. and they have no experience, actually. The whole thing is just based on some externals. The beauty, the structure, maybe some material position. But in the Vedic culture, they go into the life of the person. They go into the qualities of the person. So here it is mentioned, because of the love for his daughter, Swayambhuva Manu personally engaged in finding a suitable husband for his daughter. That is a love the parents show for their daughter or for their son. I know one couple in India. He has 3 sons. And then normally the culture is that the senior one must get married first. Either boys or girls. The senior one has to get married first before the junior ones would. So if the senior one is not getting a husband or a wife, it becomes a problem for the juniors because they have to wait. So I had a family friend in Bombay. It took him many years to find a husband for their senior son. And so the other 2 junior brothers, they were at loggerheads with their senior brother. They were always blasting him. We used to go to their house in Bombay, and they would be chastising him that he's blocking them. So their father and their mother, they had to keep traveling here, traveling there, looking for a suitable wife And finally, they got. So when they got, then they could also concentrate on finding wives for the other two boys. So, but the culture is to show your love for your daughter, to show your love for your son. It is your responsibility to look for a suitable spouse based on astrological calculations, based on compatibility, based on matching, because you want to see them live together happily. You want to see them work together as a team. So you must do all the necessary findings to get them together. So Soyambuva Manu is just demonstrating that here. I think from 38 to 38 to 38 to 44. 38 to 44 is the exercise conducted on it. So we'll go to 45. Forty-five to 46 says Pravishyata Tirtha Varam Adi Raja Sahat Majaha Dadarsa Munim Ashinam Tasmi Huta Shanam Vidyo Tamamnam Vapusha Tapasi Ugra Yuja Chiram Nati Shamam Bhagavataha Sinigdha Pangavat Lokanat Tarvya Hirita Mrita Kalaha Piyusha Savenenacha Pramshum Padma Palakshakam Jatilam Chiravashanam Upasamrishitya Malinam Yataranam Asamskritam. The translation is entering that most sacred spot with his daughter and going near the sage, the first monarch, Soyambuva Manu, saw the sage sitting in his hermitage, having just propitiated the sacred fire by pouring oblations into it. His body shone most brilliantly, though he had engaged in austere penance for a long time. He was not emaciated, for the Lord had cast his affectionate sidelong glance upon him, and he had also heard the nectar flowing from the moonlight words of the Lord. The sage was tall, his eyes were large, like the petals of a lotus, and he had matted locks on his head. He was clad in rags. So Soyambuva Manu approached and saw him to be somewhat soiled, like an unpolished gem. So this is from 45 to 47. In the morning, the duty of a brahmachari seeking spiritual elevation. In the morning, the first duty of a brahmachari seeking spiritual elevation is hutasana, or to offer sacrificial oblations to the Supreme Lord. Those engaged in brahmacharya cannot sleep until 7 or 9 o'clock in the morning. They must rise early in the morning, at least 1.5 hours before the sun rises, and offer oblations. Or in this age, they must chant the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna. Then another slide says, good fortune for Kadaramuni. Generally, yogis look very skinny because they are not being comfortably situated. But Kadaramuni was not emaciated, for he had seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. Here the word Snigdha Pangavalo Kanat means that he was fortunate enough to see the Supreme Lord face to face. He looked healthy because he had directly received the nectarian sound vibrations from the lotus lips of the personality of Godhead. So, these are 3 verses or 3.5 verses, 45, 46, 47.5. What is 3.5 verses? It's put together here. So, first of all, the life of a brahmacharya is described. Sayam pratat opaniya bhakshyam tasmai nivedayat. Yat chanyat api anujantam upanyujita shamyataha. In the morning and evening, a brahmachari should offer foodstuffs and other articles. Now he should beg for foodstuffs and other articles and deliver them to the spiritual master. Then, being self-controlled, one should accept only what the acharya permits. So the brahmachari life is a very strict life that he lives early in the morning from bhikshu. Bhikshu means to beg for donations. That's a traditional brahmacharya life in the ashram. He leaves the home very early in the morning. He leaves the Gurukula very early in the morning. And he goes around begging for bhikshu donations. And whatever he receives in the form of foodstuffs, money, whatever, he brings them back to the spiritual master. And then, on the order of the acharya, of the spiritual master, he accepts his meals. Shrushu Shamana Acharyam Sado Pashita Nichavat Yana Sayasana Stanai Nati Dure Kritanjali. The brahmachari should always serve the acharya and follow him in walking, resting, standing by him with folded hands when he sits, and by attending to him humbly in all circumstances. So this is the culture that is inculcated to the brahmacharis in the ashram, in the Gurukula. He should always serve the acharya, follow him wherever he goes, stay by his side, standing by his side with folded hands, listen to his lectures, and attend to his needs in a humble way in all circumstances. And this way, the brahmachari becomes empowered. Evam vrita gurukule vasaboga vivarjitaha. Behaving in this way and strictly following the vows of celibacy, the brahmachari should avoid sensual pleasures and reside in the ashram of the guru to the end of his studies. Offering sacrificial rituals, chanting the holy names of the Lord, performing austerities, including the vow of celibacy, a brahmachari becomes mature on the path of Krishna consciousness. So, Kandarma Muni was a brahmachari. Just before Swayambhuva Manu and his wife and their daughter arrived, he was practicing brahmacharya life for many, many years. In fact, when Lord Vishnu came to visit him, he was brahmacharya. And he expressed his desire to marry a suitable wife. And Lord Vishnu informed him that the day after tomorrow, Manu is going to bring his suitable daughter here. And she will be just exactly the woman you're looking for to marry. So before the arrival of Manu and his beautiful daughter Devahuti, Kandaramuni was practicing a life of a brahmachari. And generally, brahmacharyas, they are supposed to be skinny because of austerities. They eat less, they sleep less, they work all day. So they're supposed to be skinny. But because Kandaramuni had the opportunity to see the Lord glanced at him. So the nectarian glance of the Lord, the nectarian words of the Lord, the nectarian association of the Lord transformed Kandaramuni into a handsome man. Before then, he was skinny. Before then, he was a yogi, proper yogi. But when the Lord interacted with him, just by the Lord's association, Kandaramuni regained his beauty. So that is very important for us. As the Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and everything else shall be added. And we are able to attract the Lord's association, and we are able to attract the Lord's mercy, then all other things will come automatically. So Kandaramuni, just by attracting the Lord by his austerities, attracting the Lord by his devotion, everything came. He got a beautiful body, strong body, and then he got a suitable wife he wanted to marry. He did not have to go anywhere. He just sat in one place. And so Manu brought his very beautiful, loyal, chaste daughter to Kandaramuni to marry. So this is a very instructive and very relevant for all of us. Then text 48 says, Ato tajam upayatan nridevam pranatam puraha sarparyaya pariya grinat pratinandhyanurupayaha. Seeing that the monarch had come to his hermitage and was bowing before him, the sage greeted him with benediction and received him with due honor. I don't think I have a slide, but there is a small purport here. It says, Emperor Swayambhuva Manu not only approached the cottage of dry leaves possessed by the hermit Kandarama, but also offered respectful obeisances unto him. Similarly, it was the duty of the hermit to offer blessings to kings who used to approach his hermitage in the jungle. So this is the beginning of the relationship between the Kshatriyas and the Brahmanas, which is the section Chitra Ketuputra covered in his exercise, the relationship between the Kshatriyas and the Brahmanas. So the Brahmanas are in a superior position. So the Kshatriyas bow to the Brahmanas and seek their blessings and guidance. And then the Brahmanas, they bless the Kshatriyas and then give them counsel, they give them advice, they give them direction. So actually, the Brahmanas are conversant with the scriptural injunctions, And they impart the knowledge to the Kshatriyas to help them administrate the kingdom. The Kshatriyas are good at administration, but they need the guidance of the Brahmanas to run the state according to the scriptures. So that is how the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas, they work together to provide good administration for the citizens. And that has always been the case. Even Lord Brahma, he is the Lord of this universe, but he is surrounded by the 9 sages. And when there is a difficulty, Brahma calls their attention and they give their opinions. Even when Krishna was on the planet, he had a council of Brahmanas. And sometimes Krishna will call their attention for them to discuss. Yudhishthira Maharaj has a council of Brahmanas headed by Domya Muni. And when the need arises, he would call their attention. Lord Ramachandra, like his father, Dasarat, Vasishtha Muni was the chairman of the Brahminical Council, and he always gave good advice. So from time immemorial, this has been the system of administration, that the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas, they work together hand in hand for the benefit of the citizens. In our modern day system, we can say that when they call the House of they call it what? In Ghana here, they have the advisory body. They have the advisory body. What is the name of it in Ghana? They appoint people to that place, and they advise the president.
I call it Council of State.
Council of State. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Council of State. The Council of State represents the Brahminical Council. But how learned are they? As far as scriptures are concerned. They're supposed to be Brahmanas. All of you are supposed to be in that council.
They don't allow that. They will not even allow that.
Yeah, they are copying the thing wrongly.
Yes, they choose people who favor their batches. So
that's right.
They will not allow. No. They are supposed to appoint a leader of, let's say, from a leader of Hare Krishna movement, a leader from Roman Catholic, a leader from Muslim, to form all of that.
That's
but
right.
They will go for people who are holding degrees, masters, and philosophy. So many to come and be there who favor them. So that's why so many, because it was not difficult for us to, if those people were there, it's not difficult for us to approve for the LGBT distance.
That's right.
It will not even come to the distance. But because those people are not there, it has to come to Parliament.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So that is a system. It's an Asian system that the Kshatriyas take advice from the Brahmanas. And the Brahmanas, because they are very deep in spirituality, they are very deep in the scripture, they are very learned, and they are very pure in consciousness, they can give guidance to the Kshatriyas. And the Kshatriyas will use that knowledge to run the administration. And so everything would go very well. Today is not, it's just the opposite. And that is why the whole world is in chaos, because they don't have qualified brahmanas as their council of state, like that. So the relationship between the Kshatriyas and the brahmanas is this. Swayambhuva Manu is the original Kshatriya, and Kadarma Muni is the original Brahmana. Let's put it that way. The beginning of this universe, the beginning of the administration of this universe, or this planet. Kadarma Muni is the Brahmana, and Swayambhuva Manu is a Kshatriya. And so we see the relationship. Swayambhuva Manu is offering obeisances to Kadarma Muni. He is bringing his daughter for him to marry. In our situation, if somebody brings a daughter to you to marry, he becomes your superior. He's your father-in-law. You have to give him proper respect. Otherwise, things don't work. But here we see Swayambhuva Manu, even though he's bringing his daughter for Kadarma Muni to marry, he's offering obeisances to Kadarma Muni because of the Varna. So is important. And think text 49 has non-purport also, but it says, Grihataranam Ashinam Samyatam Praninam Muni Smaram Bhagavat Adesham Iti Aha Snaks Naya Giraha. After receiving the sage attention, the king sat down and was silent. Recalling the instructions of the Lord, Kadarma Muni then spoke to the king as follows, delighting him with his sweet accents. So there's no purport. We go to 50. I think 50 is the last verse we didn't treat. From 51 to 56. That was covered by Chitraketu Putra Prabhu. So the 50 says, Nunam Chakramanam Deva Satam Samrashanayate Vadaya Chasatam Chastam Hare Shakti Palini. The toil you have undertaken, O Lord, is surely intended to protect the virtues and kill the demons, since you embody the protecting energy of Sri Hari. And the slide says, the protecting energy of the king is supposed to be the energy of the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita 4.8, the Lord says, Paritranaya sadunam vinasaya chaduskritam. The Lord descends to give protection to the pious and to kill the demons. The potency, therefore, to give protection to the pious and kill the demons or undesirables is directly an energy from the Supreme Lord. And the king or the chief executive of the state is supposed to possess such energy. So, Kshatriyas are allowed to commit violence for a good purpose. This is their duty. Vadaya asatam means to kill undesirable elements in society. And the king is given that energy. The king is empowered with that energy to enable him execute his duty. So the executive head, which might be the president, prime minister, or the king, is actually a representative of the Supreme Lord. He is administering the state on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is why it is important for the head of state to have religious-minded people around him, to direct him, to guide him, according to the principles of religion, according to Dharma, according to the instructions from the scriptures, so that he can execute his duties accordingly, according to the plan of the Supreme, and bring happiness and joy to the citizens. Unfortunately, this is not the case in Kali Yuga. So anyway, this brings us to the end of this chapter, because the rest was treated as an exercise. The rest of the verses were treated as an exercise by Chitra Ketu Prabhu, Putra Prabhu, and so we will not go there. So if there are any comments or questions concerning this chapter, then we can look at them. If there are none, then we have to proceed to the next chapter, which is chapter 22, the marriage of Dharmamuni and Nevahuti.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question, concerning question.
Okay.
When you were describing the Jambuva Manu approaching Kanamba Muni to offer his daughter, you were talking about the reverse in this situation then and now, and the same thing with the parliamentarians, those who are supposed to be the members of the state. You were talking about that, Shitra was contributing. And I was just reflecting. Of course, we know that according to the statement of the Bhagavatam in the 12th canto, Kali Yuga will continue to degenerate. Devotees are compassionate, and they go out to preach, to encourage. The materialists have this illusory notion that at some point in time, things will get better. But the devotee knows that Kali Yuga is not going to get better, at least according to the statement of the Lord. And this devotee are stated in the scriptures. So when we find ourselves in that environment, how do we give hope of things getting better? I was discussing in a forum recently, and we're having an event on Monday, another event, and you have people who are legislators and people who are in power. Everyone is hoping for the best. And they're hoping that things will get better sometime, someday, within this age.
Yeah.
How do we respond to this? Should we continue to give them the hope that things will get better, even when we know it's not going to get better? And if we tell them that, we'll not be lying in the course of preaching. So how do we manage this?
Yeah, it's a very dicey issue. The fact is that we know that things will never get better. That's what the scripture says. Actually, there is a verse, I can't remember the quote, but I'll find it later. It said that the material nature is such that it is always deteriorating. And in the purport, Prabhupada mentions that material situations can never be improved. Then there is another verse, I think the 8th canto somewhere. It says that just like material nature is trying to improve material situations, it's like a man who is carrying load on his head and is get tired. Then he places the load on his left shoulder When he gets tired, he put it back on the right shoulder. When he gets tired, he put it back on the head. Meanwhile, while he's shifting the load from the head to the shoulders, he's feeling some relief. At least the head is feeling relieved, or one shoulder is feeling relieved. But the same load is on him. Whether he shifted from the head to the shoulder, the same load is still on him. He still has to bear that weight. It doesn't matter where the load is placed. So Prabhupada says, trying to improve material situations is exactly like this. But if you present this to the materialistic people, they can understand it. They will see you as a pessimist. That's how they will see you. So, amongst devotees, we can discuss this openly, but when we interact with the fruitive workers whose plan is to improve the material situation for their enjoyment, we cannot present it so directly to them. The only way we can put it is that if they improve their spiritual relationships, if they increase God consciousness, if they increase piety, then automatically we would be bringing Satya Yuga to Kali Yuga. And that is the actual improvement that can be brought about. So we don't discourage them from doing what they're doing, but we add to what they're trying to do by telling them, okay, you want improvement? Then see to it that there is more spiritual activity. See to it that the names of the Lord are chanted. See to it that some charities are given. See to it that people are not committing sinful activities. People are more pious. This is what would generate, the best atmosphere, Satya Yuga atmosphere. And that is what they want. So that is the way I present issues of this nature. Because if you tell them that, look, you're wasting your time, nothing will improve, they will write you off. They wouldn't listen to your advice anymore. They don't want you anymore. So you present the positive side, how they can improve. They want to improve. So you give them some positive points, they can improve and make things better. And if they chant the names of the Lord, they do some more pious activities, they give up sinful activities, obviously things will be better for everyone. So that is my take.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me ask a follow-up question before we leave, Maharaj. Please, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I want to take it now. The first question was general situation, but let us take it from individual now back to the general.
All right.
And in the individual life, even in the Bible, Western philosophy, it is said that if the sin is as red as the blood, if one engages in pious activities, it can be washed as clean as snow white.
That's right. Yeah.
And in our scriptures, we know that it is said that no matter there's no amount of karma that living entities can have by engages in pious activities. And in Kali Yuga, the most precious pious activities to chant the holy name.
Yeah.
That the holy name has the ability to change the fortune of the living entity.
Yeah.
Now, in relation to this, we know that as a spiritualist, when we say the fortune of living entities change from the spiritual perspectives, it does not mean that the material situation of that such a person will improve. in general terms, it means that the person has an opportunity to check his degradation spiritually and then go approach to grow towards spiritual attainment. Now, my question is that in relation to this particular topic we're discussing, can pious activities at different levels of whatever it might be the person is, can it improve the karmic situation of the living entities and by extension, the general society? In a practical example, if somebody has committed so much of sinful activity in his previous life, and his sinful activity is so gross that he's suffering grossly, but by dint of good fortune, he engages in pious activities or he meets a saintly person. In the present life, can his situation change? Yes. Both materially, spiritually, and also by extension to the society?
Yes. There is a story in the Upanishads. There were some two sons of a king, Girikunda and Vikunda. Girikunda and Vikunda. And their father was very wealthy. And the father shared his wealth to them. But they misused the wealth and had to beg and steal and rob. And the citizen excommunicated them from the town. So they had to live in the forest. And they engaged in killing animals to survive. But they were not living together. One was living somewhere, another one was living somewhere. So somehow or the other, they all died on the same day. A lion ate the senior brother Girikunda, and a snake bit the junior brother Vikunda. And they all arrived in Yamaraj Loka together. And then the Yamaraj passes judgment. So Vikunda, the junior one, was elevated to heaven, and Girikunda was sent to hell. So Vikunda asked Yamaraj, I'm surprised. Why is it that my brother, my senior brother, is going to hell and I'm going to heaven? We all live almost the same life. I don't see any difference between me and him. And Yamaraj said, yes, both of you lived very sinful lives. But where you were living, because they were not living together, he said there was a saintly man who lived nearby. And this saintly man would recite the scriptures every day. And because Vikunda was living close to that saintly person, the vibrations from the mantras the saintly man was chanting was clearing his karma. It was improving his karma. And then sometimes he would just walk past the saintly man, and even the air that surrounds the saintly man would touch this Vikunda. And so Yamaraj said, just by that interaction, you have wiped off all your bad karma. And now you have a great wealth of good karma. And that is why you have to go to heaven and your brother has to go to hell. So Yamaraj explained that association is the key in life. Whatever we do, association will determine our destination. Sadhu Sange Krishna Bhakti Shraddha Yadi Hoy. That by association, we develop our faith. And by our faith, the result of our activities will bear on us. So there is pious activities that, in fact, there is a Boga Yumuka, what do they call it? Boga Yumuka, what they call piety in Sanskrit.
Punya.
Punya, thank you. There is Boga Yumuka Punya. There is Gyana Yumuka Punya. And there is Bhakti Yumuka Punya. So there are pious activities that will increase your material assets, material circumstances, will improve it. There are some pious activities that would give you the ability to study scriptures, understand scriptures. And there are some pious activities that will facilitate your devotional service. So according to which of these pious activities you have accumulated, it will influence you accordingly. So yes, piety can eradicate sinful activities. And the Upanishads gave this story to elucidate how, by association, one can be elevated to the heavens and one can be degraded to the hellish planets. So when we ask people to chant, when we give people prashadam, when we give the chance for people to hear, we are actually increasing their opportunity to rise to higher levels, simultaneously decreasing their opportunity to go down. So when we give association to non-devotees, we are actually elevating them by our association. That is a fact. Does that answer your question?
Thank you very much for the beautiful answers. Actually, it answers, though there are more other questions because this is the nature of Bhagavatam. But okay. I don't want to
take more time.
Yeah, so I think I'll allow us to go, then maybe later I'll ask some other questions. But the questions are answered. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So, so let's proceed with the next chapter, which is entitled "The Marriage of Kadarma Muni and Devahuti." So we just finished with the chapter 21, whereby the Lord has appeared to predict or prophesize the marriage of Kadarma Muni to the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. And it said day after tomorrow. And so day after tomorrow, Swayambhuva Manu has arrived with his daughter and his wife, looking for a suitable husband to present their daughter as a gift. Marriage of a daughter is described as Dana Kanya, or Kanya Dana, that way around. Kanya Dana, giving your daughter in charity to a suitable man. That is a duty of the father of the girl. It's your duty to find a suitable man and hand over your daughter to him. So Swayambhuva Manu has traveled all the way from Brahmavarta to the Saraswati River, where Bindusarava is located, in order to hand over his daughter to a suitable man, a great yogi like Kadarma Muni. So now we'll see the next chapter, which is talking about their marriage. So verse 1, I'll read the verse 1, and then it has no purport. It says, Maitreya Ovacha, Evam aveskrita sesa guna karmodayo munim saviridra ivatam samrat uparatam ovachaha. Sri Maitreya Muni said, after describing the greatness of the emperor's manifold qualities and activities, the sage became silent. And the emperor, feeling modesty, addressed him as follows. So after Dharma Muni spoke, he fell silent. And now Manu, the king, will reply. So I think what we'll do is that there is an overview of the chapter, section overview from verse 1 to 14. After Dharma Muni spoke of the emperor's exalted qualities, Manu explained how Brahma created the Brahmanas, who are full of austerity and knowledge and are averse to sense gratification. 15 to 27, Dharma Muni confirmed his desire to marry. He mentioned how a Gandharva captivated by her beauty fell from his airplane. 28 to 39, Swayambhuva Manu returns to Barishmati and was greeted by his joyful subjects. But he first worshipped the Lord. Then he entered his palace, filled with an atmosphere that eradicated the three miseries of material existence. So this is the overview of this chapter. It's divided into three sections. The first section, which is one we are going to be discussing now. I hope we can cover the first section, where Manu explained how Brahma created the Brahmanas, who are full of austerity, knowledge, and are averse to sense gratification. I think this will be verse 2. I don't know why it's written verse 1. So somebody can read verse 2. Yeah, go ahead.
Verse 2 says, the translation of the Sanskrit.
Verse and translation. Verse and translation.
Okay, the verse says, Mano uvacha Brahmasya Jat Swamuka Toho Yasman Atma Parisaya Chando Masya Tapo Vidya Yoga Yuktan Alampatan. Manu replied, to expand himself in Vedic knowledge, Lord Brahma, the personified Veda, turned his face, from his face rather, created you. The Brahmanas, who are full of austerity, knowledge, and mystic power, and are averse to sense gratification.
Okay, so there are some slides to be read. There are 2 slides, I think. Yeah. Read the slides.
So we should read this. The slide says, the purpose of the Vedas is to propagate the transcendental knowledge of the absolute truth. The Brahmanas were created from the mouth of the Supreme Person, and therefore they are meant to spread the knowledge of the Vedas in order to spread the glories of the Lord.
There's another one. Yeah, this also is part of it.
The types of occupation in the material world. One occupation in the material world is sense gratification, and the other occupation is spiritual activity. To satisfy the Lord by his glorification, those who engage in sense gratification are called demons. And those who spread the glorification of the Lord or satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord are called demigod. 3:22.
Thank you. So The first slide says the purpose of the Vedas is to propagate the transcendental knowledge of the absolute truth. The Brahmanas were created from the mouth of the Supreme, and therefore they are meant to spread the knowledge of the Vedas in order to spread the glories of the Lord. Therefore, it is said that the Brahmanas have 6 duties. 6 duties of the Brahmanas are Patana, Yajana, Dana, and Patigraha. That means the Brahmanas, they study the scriptures and they preach the scriptures. They perform yagyas for themselves and they perform yagya for others. They receive charity and they also give charity. These are the 6 duties of the Brahmanas. But the foremost is Patana. Patana means the study of the scriptures. A Brahmana must be fully immersed in the study of scripture. On daily basis, a Brahmana must study the scriptures because he has to be conversant. If he has to advise the king, if he has to advise the Kshatriyas, and he is not conversant in the scriptures, what advice is he going to give? So the Brahmana must be very conversant with the Vedic scriptures so that he can give expert guidance to the Kshatriyas for the administration of the kingdom. So therefore, it is said that the Brahmanas are created from the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And their purpose is to spread the glories of the Lord. So those who spread the glories of the Lord, they engage in spiritual activity. Their occupation is spiritual. But those who engage in sense gratification, they are opposed to spreading the glories of the Lord. They want to promote their own sense gratification, so they are not interested in anything concerning the Lord. And so they're described here as demons. So here I said there are 2 occupations in the material world. One is spiritual duties, spiritual occupation, spiritual activity to satisfy the Lord. And the other is materialistic activities for the satisfaction of the senses of the conditioned souls. So those who are engaged in spiritual activity for the glorification of the Supreme Lord, they are the devotees. And those who are refusing to glorify the Lord and they're simply engaged in activities for their own sense gratification, they are described as demons. So it is also said, Yoga Yuktam Alampatam. Brahmanas are full of mystical power, and therefore they are completely averse to sense gratification. So the Brahmanas are meant to accept austerities. They are meant to study the Vedic scriptures and be well equipped in Vedic knowledge, and then they are averse to sense gratification. So in this way, they can execute their duties, they can execute their functions very nicely. So That is the duty of the Brahmanas. So nowadays we are offering Brahmana initiations on a silver platter. Everybody is eager to take Brahminical initiation. When His Holiness Kavichandra Maharaj was given initiation here in Ghana, everybody wants to take Brahmana. Those who have been first initiates for long, they're all running to Maharaj. They want to take second initiation, but they don't bother to ask what is the qualification for second initiation. They don't bother to know that certain qualifications are required, because a Brahmana, once you are called a Brahmana, you must be full of knowledge, because Brahmanas are created from the mouth of the universal form of the Lord, and they have a duty to glorify the Supreme Lord, to study the Vedic scriptures, to share knowledge. So if you are rushing to accept Brahminical initiation without the prerequisites, without studying the scriptures, without knowledge of the Vedas, what kind of Brahman are you going to be? Simply Sudra Brahmana, because you have no knowledge. So therefore, from this, we can understand that for somebody to become a Brahmana, he must study the scriptures. And that's why Srila Prabhupada instituted this study program, the Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhava. And of course, I think the GBC, they're coming out with some resolutions that one must at least study Bhakti Shastri in order to take second initiation. One must study Bhakti Shastri in order to occupy certain positions in ISKCON. To be a GBC, one must have studied Bhakti Vaibhava. Of course, now they are also requesting for a second degree in any field of study. Now the new requirements for GBC now. You must have a second degree, a master's program in any field of study before you can be considered. Besides, the spiritual degrees, you must also have material degrees to indicate that you understand the material world well, in addition to the spiritual world. Then you can become a GBC. So the Prabhupada standard is that one should have studied the Bhakti Vaibhava in order to become a GBC. So, but the whole purpose is that leadership means you have to share knowledge. Leadership means you have to preach. Leadership means you have to guide others. So if you don't have the prerequisites, you don't have the knowledge, what kind of a leader are you going to be? So therefore, the Brahmanas are the leaders of society, and therefore there must be knowledge. And so we have to insist, we have to promote, we have to campaign among devotees that if they want to become Brahmanas, they should first of all study the scriptures. They should first of all study Bhagavad Gita, study Nectar of Devotion, Ishopanishad, Upadeshamrita. They should study these basic books to understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, because as Brahmanas, people will come to them for advice, people will come to them for knowledge, people will come to them for guidance. And if they are not conversant with the teachings and philosophy of Krishna consciousness, how can they serve as Brahmanas? So anyway, let's move on to text 3, unless there are some comments or questions. Somebody can read text 3.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please, Madhuma Prabhu, please read.
Okay. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Sorry for my late comment. I was in a communal meeting. So, Sahasakanaya Jatasman Dosastra Strapa Adayam Tatyahi Brahma Chatam Angam Praka Shate. Translation. For the protection of the Brahmanas, the 1,000-legged Supreme Being created all, the Shastra, from his 1,000 arms. Hence, the Brahmanas are said to be his heart, and the Shastra his hand.
Okay, read the slide.
Okay. Protection of the Brahmana is very essential. Shastras are specifically meant to maintain the Brahmanas, because if the Brahmanas are protected, then the head of the civilization is protected. Brahmanas are supposed to be the head of the social body. If the head is clear and has not gone mad, then everything is in proper position. The Lord is described thus. Namo Brahmaya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. The purpose of this prayer is that the Lord specifically protects the Brahmanas and the cows, and then protects all other members of society. That's Jagat Ditaya. Bhagavatam 3:22-3. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So protection of Brahmanas is very essential. Why? Because the Brahmana is the head of the society, social body. In the social body, the Brahmanas are the head. And so if the head is not protected, if the head is harmed, then the whole body will be affected. So therefore, the Kshatriyas, their first business is to protect the Brahmanas, because the Brahmanas, they know the scripture, they have the knowledge. Brahma Janati iti Brahman. Brahmanas, they take the path of study, they take the path of learning, and they become fully equipped with Shastric knowledge, and this way they can guide human society. So therefore, Krishna gives such importance to Brahminical culture. He becomes the protector of Brahmanas, he becomes the protector of cows. As the Padma Puranas make this statement, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagaritaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So Krishna has a very special inclination towards the Brahminical class, and therefore he gives them special protection. Just as the cows are very dear to the Lord, he gives them special protection. So this indicates how dear the Brahmanas, how dear the cows are to the Lord. Just because they are the symbols of learning or knowledge. They know the scriptures and they can guide society. So therefore they play a very important role in the Brahmana class. In fact, the Manu Samhita says that if you go to a city or a town and there is no Brahmana in that town, don't stay there. It also says that if you go to a town and there is no river, don't stay there. And then it also says, if you go to a town and there is no temple, don't stay there. So the Manu Samhita, it gives guidance even in our day-to-day living. And as we know, the Manu Samhita is the original law. An original law book is the original law book of the whole universe. That was written by Manu, spoken by Manu. And that is meant to guide mankind. In fact, all the different law books around the world and constitutions, they're all coming from this Manu Samhita. So the Manu Samhita says, never stay in a place where there are no brahmanas. It means the place is devoid of spiritual knowledge. So the brahmanas are very special, and therefore they need to be protected because they are the head of the society and they need to have a clear mind, clear vision in order to guide society as a whole. And therefore it's a duty of the Kshatriyas to maintain the brahmanas and protect them. Then the brahmanas will give guidance to the Kshatriyas so they can use that guidance to run the state affairs. And so in this way, there is interdependence. There is interdependence. The brahmanas give spiritual guidance to the Kshatriyas for their administrative work, and the Kshatriyas maintain the brahmanas by providing their needs and by giving them protection, so they're safe to direct the affairs of the Kshatriyas. So there is interdependence. Because the Vaishyas, they produce the grains, so everybody depends on grains, and the Sudras provide service to the higher caste. So the social system is actually interdependent. But today, the Brahmana class is neglected. So the head is not clear, vision is not clear, knowledge of the Supreme Lord is not clear. And so the whole world is in a chaotic situation because there is no head. Prabhupada would say, a body without a head is dead. So when there are no qualified brahmanas to guide society, there are no dedicated brahmanas who study the scripture every day and give knowledge to help people, the social body is dead without such knowledge, without such facilities. So that highlights the importance of Brahminical culture. That highlights the importance of maintaining the brahmanas, which the Kshatriyas do. So text 4. Somebody like to read text 1? Yeah, go ahead, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, yeah, Maharaj. Ato hi anyonyam atmanam Brahma Shatram Charakshata Rakshati Sma Vyayo Deva Saya Sat Ashat Atmaka. Translation. That is why the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas protect each other, as well as themselves, and the Lord himself, who is both the cause and effect, and is yet immutable, protect them through each other.
Okay, read the slide.
The slide, the cooperation between Brahmanas and Kshatriyas essential for all. The entire social structure of Varna and Ashrama is a cooperative system meant to uplift all to the highest platform of spiritual realization. The Brahmanas are intended to be protected by the Kshatriyas, and the Kshatriyas also are intended to be enlightened by the Brahmanas. When the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas cooperate nicely, the other subordinate divisions, the Vaishyas or mercantile people, and the Sudras or liberal class automatically flourish.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So cooperation between Brahmanas and Kshatriyas is very essential because the entire social system was based on this relationship. The Brahmanas providing spiritual guidance, providing enlightenment to the Kshatriyas, and the Kshatriyas providing maintenance or sustenance and protection to the Brahmanas. And that cooperation, when there is such a nice cooperation, even the other subdivisions or subordinate divisions, like the Vaishyas and the Sudras, they also benefit. When the leaders cooperate, the citizens benefit. And when the leaders fight, it is the citizens that suffer. As it is often said, that when the elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. So when there is conflict between the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas, the mercantile and the Sudras, they will suffer. And if there is cooperation between the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas, the mercantile and Sudras, they will be peaceful because of that cooperation. So therefore, when there is complete cooperation among different individuals, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased, and he also gives his own protection to all. So if the different members, if members of different ashrams and varnas cooperate fully with this Krishna consciousness movement, then society will be protected by the Lord. And for this, there is no doubt. So, cooperation is a key to progress. Without cooperation, there cannot be progress. For a child to be born, there must be cooperation between the husband and wife. Otherwise, it's not possible. The husband alone cannot produce a child, and the wife alone cannot produce a child. They must cooperate. So similarly, to achieve any substantial result in our preaching work, in our activities, we need cooperation. So we must cooperate as much as possible. Just as it is said here, cooperation between the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas will bring wonderful results. So if the devotees of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, if they cooperate together to expand the preaching, cooperate together to enlighten people, cooperate together to elevate the whole country, the whole universe, that will be very wonderful. It will benefit everyone.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Please, I have is this a comment
Okay.
or observation? Observation. I observed that even those of us in the Krishna consciousness movement, we did not understand the Vanashram system ourselves. We did not understand it. In the sense that we don't know where we clearly belong, which category we belong to. And at the same time, we don't know what our responsibilities are, depending on our position. For example, we are complaining we don't have brahmanas in the temples again. But the reason is that we don't take responsibilities. We don't think we should maintain them or finance them. And even in the on the karmic level, even the churches and the mosques, they are very fully aware of this responsibility. That they have to pay their priests. Even some priests, they give them salary. And then they also take care of the maintenance of the church, and so on. But this doesn't really happen in our movement. We just and that's why our brahmanas, they have to be struggling at times to make ends meet. And when you struggle, how do you really sit down and settle down to go through the scripture and then give good lectures? Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Well, we have to understand that Srila Prabhupada was on an emergency. Srila Prabhupada had 11 years to establish the world organization of ISKCON. So his mission was an emergency mission. And so he was not very concerned with these different social classes. His concern was to just give an opportunity to everyone to be connected to Mahaprabhu's movement. But then Prabhupada wanted to build a Vanashrama college. Somebody gave a land in Kurukshetra, and Prabhupada ordered Ambarish Prabhu to bring him some, I think $70,000 or so to establish the Vanashrama college in Kurukshetra. But then things didn't go well. The owners of the land, they didn't come through with their promise. And so Srila Prabhupada called off that project in Kurukshetra. In the early days, so we can see that even though Prabhupada was on an emergency mission, he was also thinking about the future by trying to establish the Varnashrama college. So now some disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they're working on these projects around the world. And I think in the next few years, things will be properly defined, and devotees can identify their ashrams, and they will go for the appropriate training. Those who are Vaishyas will settle down in farm communities and produce grains. Those who are Kshatriyas will provide security and an administration. Those who are inclined to Brahminical culture, they will study the scriptures, teach the scriptures, and spread the message of the scriptures. So it might not be happening right now, but it will happen in the future because some organization is there. Some cooperation is there. It will take some time to spread to all parts of the world. So I think our time is up, but I was thinking we can read one or two more verses. So text 5 says, Tava sandarshanariva china me sarva samsayaha yatsvayam bhagavan pritya Dharmam aha rirak shisho. Now I have resolved all my doubts simply by meeting you, for your lordship has very kindly and clearly explained the duty of a king who desires to protect his subjects. That is 5. Associating with the saintly person is most crucial for spiritual progress. What is not possible to achieve in thousands of lives can be achieved in one moment if there is an opportunity to meet a saintly person. It is therefore enjoined in Vedic literature that one should always try to associate with saintly persons and try to dissociate oneself from the common man, because by one word of a saintly person, one can be liberated from material entanglement. A saintly person has the power, because of his spiritual advancement, to give immediate liberation to the conditioned soul. So, in this purport, first of all, in the verse, Swayambhuva Manu is replying to the statements of Kadarma Muni. When Kadarma Muni extolled the kings, the Kshatriyas, Swayambhuva Manu is responding. So this is a very interesting relationship. The king wasn't envious of the Brahmana, and the Brahmana wasn't envious of the king. The Brahmana openly glorified the king, and the king openly glorified the Brahmana. So that is how it should be in our dealings, our daily dealings. We should openly glorify each other, openly appreciate each other. This creates a very congenial environment for spiritual advancement. When there is grudge, when there is misunderstanding, when there is fight, the modes of nature are agitated. The modes of nature take over control. And how can we make advancement in the presence of the 3 modes of material nature? Why was Krishna telling Arjuna he should rise above the 3 modes of material nature? Because they will affect us negatively. And therefore, a practitioner of Krishna consciousness must endeavor to rise above the modes of material nature. So, by associating with devotees, one can give up the modes of material nature. By practicing Krishna consciousness, one can give up the modes of material nature. If somehow one meets a saintly person and achieves his favor, the entire mission of one's human life is fulfilled. Srila Prabhupada talks about his own good fortune in meeting his divine grace, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, which resulted in his getting a transcendental occupation, which saved him from the occupation of material activities. If one meets a saintly person who is completely engaged in the service of the Lord, and if one is able to achieve his favor, then one's life mission is fulfilled. So, association is the key. Sadhu Sangha, Krishna Kripa, Bhakti Swabhava. When one gains the association of devotees, he also gains the association of Krishna, and eventually gain the association of Bhakti Devi. So by mingling with devotees, one becomes a candidate for receiving the Lord's mercy. So therefore, we must provide the opportunity. We must provide the avenue by which people can associate with devotees and get the right benediction. So I think we'll end here. It's already 10 minutes after 10. Tomorrow we'll continue from text 6. So that we don't, actually I have another class at 12. So I need to organize myself for that class.
Hare Krishna. Chaitanya Prema Prabhu's hand is up. Before we allowed him to speak, Bhaktivedanta Swami, Chaitanya Prema, just a second. It's great to have Vanacari. I wanted to put a question, maybe we can discuss it tomorrow.
Okay.
In line with what we're reading, both in our individual organization and global family, we were talking about the Manu Samhita, or the law book for mankind.
Yeah.
Until when one becomes transcendentally situated, it is said that one still has to follow the rules and regulations of the scriptures.
Yeah.
And 99.9999% of the world are not on the platform of transcendence.
Yeah.
So therefore, there is an importance in looking at what this the Manu Samhita talks about: prosperity, peacefulness, and all of whatever makes the world peaceful.
Yeah.
Our management of our individual, collective, as organization, and the world. And recently I was studying, looking at what approach can be made to help our, of course, for myself, I was looking at my life, and I was looking at the life of the movement that I belong to, that I'm passionate about. And I started reading some texts about how everything revolves around the protections of womanhood. And this is also mentioned by Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita.
Yep.
And I think to a greater extent, I can now reconnect why Srila Gurudev was so much particular and very, very heavy on the way women are treated in our movement. I know we are over time. I want you to put this forward. Maybe somehow or the other, in the course of our discussion tomorrow, we can go a little bit into this. Also, that will give you opportunity to maybe check to some certain information to share with us. But I have been thinking, and I start seeing personally and collectively, I see that even in our movement that has so much of knowledge, women's protection is not what it's supposed to be. Even our marital, all the stages of womanhood, but I'll leave it to when we discuss about it, and then we can expand upon this. I just want to bring it forward.
All right. Thank you. We would do a little bit of research, and then we can discuss. That is a fact that Gurudev was particular about protection of women and children, because they're the most vulnerable. And if society does not pay attention to that, then the whole society suffers.
Yes, absolutely. That's what the Manu Samhita says.
Yes, the whole society. And Arjuna was quoting actually from the Manu Samhita that if women are not protected, there's going to be degradation.
Yeah.
The world is in chaos because of this. Women are not protected.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we'll discuss it in the next class, hopefully. Yes. Chaitanya Prema Prabhu, please unmute. You're already unmuted, so.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, thank you very much for giving us serious food for thought. Okay. My own first is announcement.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
if it is just an announcement, please, thank you very much. I will bring to a close formally this class, and then you can do the announcement afterwards. So,
okay, the question comes.
The announcement will come immediately after the official close of the class.
Okay. Thank you very much. There's a little.
So, dear devotees, thank you very much for participating. We wish that we all come.
From my question.
In the next class, let us also remember to always come in time. It is not always the best to have the teachers come earlier. On this note, I will request all of devotees to kindly unmute and let us loudly chant a loud Hare Krishna mantra to appreciate our teachers for his time. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare. Vanchakarpatarubhyascha kripasubhyascha patitanam Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. His Grace Srivas Vanacari Prabhu ki jai.